Hey Tony, it's Friday. And first off, to answer your question of the week, I think the games I'm most looking forward to, or my highlights of E3, were Cyberpunk 2077, which is CD Projekt Red's new one, which I'm so excited for. Elder Scrolls 6, I'm looking forward to, along with Starfield. And I think what I'm the one that's closest to me that I'm looking most forward to is probably Smash. Smash and Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem's not going to come out until 2019, but Smash is coming out in December, and Taylor and I are going to play the hell out of that game. We already know we are. So we're looking forward to it. So now on to my video, and it's going to be about, you guessed it, politics, because it's what I talk about more often than not. So this week was actually a pretty big week in the political scene. There was the G7 summit that was last weekend that was a disaster. And then there was a Trump's summit with Kim Jong-un, which was, I'm not going to say a success, but it certainly wasn't a failure. But I don't want to talk about either of those two specific things, because what I want to talk more about is it's more on a within type setting, and that is America can't talk about politics to each other at all. We're in an era of hyperpartisanship. Some people have said we haven't had this much partisanship since the Civil War, and we know that ended up in a pretty bad policy disaster because there was a war that was within the country, and that concerns me because the more people are saying that we're getting more and more divided, it makes me concerned that maybe we won't be able to survive whatever outer force might or might not happen, because no matter what, we're going to look at the other side as suspect. I think a perfect example of this is with the Russia investigation. Not the Russia investigation into Trump's collusion at all, because there's no proof one way or another on that yet. But I'm talking more about the very thought that Russia ended up hacking into a US election. And depending on what side of the aisle you're on, you either think it's a political hack job or a serious threat to national security. And that I find incredible, because this is a hostile power who just hacked into our elections to try and shift it one way or another. And it worked. When you look at what their goal was to create partisanship, create divides between the people, and it worked like a charm. Because in my life, throughout our life, we've had a lot of very, very partisan times. Back into the Clinton years and the the Clinton investigation. You have the issue with Iraq and Afghanistan, and you have the entirety of Obama's presidency, in which the sides couldn't sit down and talk. And I find that distressing, to say the least. Our country itself was built on compromise. You look back, and all the things that we have today is because our founding fathers / founding brothers compromised and did what was best for everybody, and not necessarily for themselves. Now, I know I'm being a little more romantic, because there were certainly knuckle down fights back with the founding fathers that didn't really turn out too well. But still, every single thing that we have today has been not every single thing, but almost every single thing we have in our country today has been formulated on compromise. As far as it goes, I know that I personally am relatively liberal. I'm aware of this. But that doesn't mean I think that anybody who might be conservative is immediately backwater, doesn't know what they're doing, doesn't belong in this new world. Much like I don't think that many other liberals are, trigger festivals of we don't want to have free speech because it has to be polite speech, etc., etc. And that's the issue we have. Anytime you disagree with something somebody says, you're labeled either, for example, a libtard or a snowflake, or you're considered to be a backwater, you're considered to be out of touch, you're considered to be a liberal urbanite who doesn't know what's best for the country, or you're a country bumpkin who doesn't know anything of what we need. And that's just bad. It's wrong on so many levels. There are many things that we can learn from people in different situations than we are. Like, yeah, I myself, I live in a city. I enjoy the city. I know my worldview is shaped by living in a city. But I have a number of friends who live in the country as well, and their worldview is shaped completely differently than mine is. And because we believe ourselves to be reasonable people, we talk. We know that we're going to have differing political beliefs. That's just how it goes. I have many good friends who are very conservative. And I have many friends who are very liberal as well. But the thing that kind of that combines us all, unites us, is we're all people. Red, white, black, or blue, we are all people. We all belong in this world. We all have a different worldview. We all have a way we can actually share it with other people. And the more partisan we get, the less we can actually do about it. The less we become a country, and the more we become a group of alien tribes. And there are many reasons to this. I'm not going to say I have all the reasons as to why this needs to not happen, or how we can solve this, because I don't. But what I do know is I think we need to sit down and just talk. I think the best example on just how we're alien tribes came with the Trump summit with Kim Jong-un. Many people on the conservatives were like, oh, this was a great step towards world peace, etc., etc. And many liberals were like, oh no, they just gave credence to an authoritarian regime. But the thing is, going back not that far ago, during the Obama years, there was a very similar situation in which Obama was going to try and meet with North Korea. And what ended up happening instead is people on Fox News and other political commentators said they would show him being weak, because it would show him to bow to dictators instead of being the strong America that we all want. And then, just a couple years later, turn right back around and consider when Trump met with North Korea to be a great foreign policy triumph, whereas many liberals consider it to be awful. Now, I myself looked at it in a more moderate viewpoint, in which, yeah, this was huge. I supported the summit. I'm glad it happened. I would have liked to get a little bit more out of it, besides just vague promises, but that's not my job. But the fact that we were able to do this is a huge step towards, if not world peace, at least open communication, which could then lead to peace, economic security, etc., etc. And to see the partisanship come out about it, say, oh, this was awful, oh, this was great, oh, we need to do this again, oh, we can never do this again, oh, everything was terrible, oh, America's losing their spot. I saw it as what it was, a good thing. I always support making closer ties with foreign nations. I always support diplomacy. I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat who's making these overtures to another country, but I like diplomacy. I think diplomacy is the way most problems should be solved. Because the way I look at it, so long as both sides end up equally dissatisfied, you have a good deal. So Tony, my question for you, I know you don't really pay attention to politics, but what was your opinion on the summit? Tony, I'll see you on Tuesday. Later, bro.